welcome to this episode of Alabama Law TV. My name is Cindy Speaker. I have with me as my guest today Nathan Guin, one of my favorite guests, and he is with Gardberg and Kemmerly, attorneys at law in Mobile, Alabama. Nathan, welcome.
Thank you very much. That's very flattering. I'm glad that I've made the tops of your list.
Absolutely. I always love talking to you. So we're going to talk today, as we usually do, about veterans disability law. And
Right.
I understand that you have been very, very busy. So I'm so glad we got to get to you today. You're running all over the
It's been a little
place.
hectic. Yeah, I've been all over
Yeah.
the Southeast, it feels like. So it's good to be home for a little bit.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, our topic is the new VA appeals process. So you're going to tell us
Yes.
some maybe really trending things that we haven't heard before. Let's start off and talk about what is it and when will it be implemented?
Okay, so that's, I guess, probably the easiest and most concrete part, I would
Okay.
say, is what it is and when it'll be implemented. So it's supposed to be implemented in February of 2019. That's per the experts at NOVA, which is the National Organization of Veterans Advocates. That's the conference I was at a couple weeks ago in St. Pete, down in Florida. So this is all brand new information from that. So that's when it's going to be implemented. And basically what it's going to do is change the role of the regional offices in the Board of Veterans Appeals. So now what you have is you put in your claim at the regional office, you get a rating decision from the regional office, you file a notice of disagreement with the regional office, and then you get a statement of the case from the regional office. So they act as the original, adjudicator, the original decision maker, and they also act as the first level of the appeals process. Well, now that's gone. So
Wow.
now when you do want to appeal, you'll still file a notice of disagreement, but what you'll do is file it directly with the Board of Veterans Appeals. And then at that point, there are 3 different tracks that you can choose based on, what your case looks like, what kind of evidence you have, what the issues are on appeal. And there's also some interesting stuff that I think we might get into a little later about changes in strategy at the regional office because of the way that they are redefining those roles.
Wow. Okay, so lots of changes. What are the most basic changes that have been made?
Okay, so there's not going to be a statement of the case anymore. There won't be, strictly speaking, decision review officers at the regional office. They'll have high-level review officers. New and material evidence. A lot of terms of art are, like new and material evidence is now new and relevant evidence. So a lot of different small things like that. Some of them stay the same, but the biggest difference is, obviously, is you get to kind of customize what you want to do. You have options at the regional office level before you file a notice of disagreement. And then once you get to the board, you've got 3 different options that you can do, all of which have pros and cons depending on what you want for your case. So I guess the most basic changes is that everything seems to be somewhat changed, other than the fact that, you still can have hearings. You'll still have decision review officers. They'll just be at the board rather than the regional office, and they're called something different. So a lot of it's the same, but a lot of it will allow for the process not be so linear. Everyone is in the same line right now. And this will break it up into a bunch of different lines, which is going to be helpful.
Oh, it will be helpful. So you see this as a positive change?
If it works the way that it looks like it should, I'm very excited about it. I think that it'll help us as attorneys be able to customize more to each case rather than, because there's only so much you can do. And obviously the legal arguments are different for every case because all the facts are different, but, different cases have different strengths, different weaknesses. And a lot of times, you wish you could just kind of bypass. In my opinion, I would just like to bypass the statement of the case in the Form 9 altogether, which is now what you can do, and go straight to the board because I really think that the board gives you, a really good shakedown, and they're very fair. And they get the decisions, I believe, right most of the time, as opposed to, the regional office where you get the same decision twice, just 2.5 years apart. So I'm really excited about it if it works anywhere close to the way that hopefully it will.
Do you think this will accelerate the time it takes to get cases through the system?
So that's the biggest point, or the biggest, the reason that they did it was to try to get these cases moving forward. So the idea is that yes, they will. I don't know what it means necessarily for the speed of current claims. That's something that is still kind of been addressed, but not really. It's raised a lot of questions and not a whole lot of answers. So I think for the newer claims, as we're going along, it'll speed those up. For the older claims, I'm not sure if it'll make that big of a difference. They may just kind of have to write it out, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. You mentioned something staying the same. Is there anything that's going to stay the same, but maybe be called something different?
Yeah, so I think I've alluded to it earlier. Right now,
Okay.
you can file a notice of disagreement with the regional office and ask for a decision review officer review. And basically, that's another rating specialist who you get a chance to have a conference with, talk to them about it. They'll review the case completely separate from the original decision, and they issue a new decision. Now, that's just going to be called the high level review officer. Now, that's a different. It's essentially
Okay.
the same thing, but it'll be at the Board of Veterans Appeals, not at the regional offices, and they'll have a different name. So that will look different but stay the same.
Okay.
And the same thing for like new and material evidence. It's now new and relevant evidence. It's a little bit broader of a standard, which makes it a little bit easier for us in terms of what constitutes new and relevant evidence as opposed to new and material. But that's essentially the same. It's just kind of different terminology on those.
Okay.
But
You just,
um,
yeah.
it's just a little bit different.
Okay. You said something would be easier for you. How is it going to affect attorneys and your strategy?
Well, from that perspective, it might be a little bit more challenging because we'll have more
Oh,
decisions to make. But I think
okay.
it'll be helpful for the veteran. So it'll be
Okay.
a pro, but it just gives us more work, which is fine. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. Um, so what it'll do for the attorneys is, and this is something I haven't really gotten into yet, is instead of filing a notice of disagreement, what you can do is file what's called a supplemental claim. You put in a new claim, you get a rating decision, and if they say we concede that you have a current disability, currently diagnosed disability, that part is checked off. Well, now all those favorable findings are binding. So no one can go back and say that that's incorrect. That's binding. What you can also do is you can file if you get new and relevant evidence. So if you get some other kind of evidence that shows a link or an injury in service and that previously was an issue, you can put in a supplemental claim with that new evidence and you'll keep your effective date from your original claim, which is different than before. So you kind of have a couple of different opportunities at the regional office level to get your ducks in a row and really almost have it handled there. And if it doesn't get handled there, well, then you go to somewhere different. You can get your
Okay.
ducks in a row, and if they still mess it up, and you say, "Look, I've given you everything you need," and they deny you, well, then you can file the notice of disagreement to the Board of Veterans Appeals. And so I
Okay.
think that it gives you the chance to be more efficient.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is complicated.
Yeah, it feels like it right now, and we don't have even probably half the details. The
Yeah.
regulations haven't all been written yet, so
Sure.
still a lot of development, but it's exciting.
Good.
Um, it's really exciting. I'm really really excited about it, but um, also very curious to see
Yeah.
what it turns out looking like and how it actually works. Because what they want and what happens is
Right.
largely different a lot of the times with the VA.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, with everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I love that you guys are on the cutting edge. You're always on the cutting edge at Gardberg and Kemmerly, and I think that's awesome, and it's certainly helpful to the veterans.
We try our best. We try to keep up with everything. It's ever changing, and these conferences, they have them twice a year. We usually send somebody to pretty much every one of them,
That's great.
and there is always just incredible information that comes out of that, and
Mm,
basically a huge group think about what can we do as advocates and attorneys to help fix
yeah.
things, and also you get all that valuable information. So it was a great conference, and I mean I've come back. I can't even count how much stuff I've used from it just since I've been back. So it's
Oh,
been
wow,
great.
that's awesome. So, bottom line, what will this mean? What will these changes mean for the veterans, both now and also in the future?
So for the ones that have current claims, the idea that's being kicked around now, or I guess the solution that they have for that is what's called a legacy docket. So when this new system gets implemented, more likely than not, the claims that are already pending will stay within a similar system as to what they are now. But there won't be any new cases added to it, as opposed to
Okay.
now where you can get new claims, new appeals, and everything just kind of compounds each other. So more likely than not, excuse me, the older claims will be dealt with in a very similar manner because they'll just kind of have to clear those out. It's going to be really difficult for them to integrate them into the new system. Now, for
Yeah.
new claims and for other veterans, if you have a claim now that you are thinking about filing, but you might be able to wait until this new system gets implemented, you may want to because it might behoove you to do that. It might be advantageous to
Yeah.
you from a time perspective and a number of other ways to do that. So for veterans now with current claims, I don't think it'll change much. But I think in terms of people who want to file claims later or who are coming back from service, wherever it may be now, I think it's going to be really advantageous for them. It's going to be a helpful process, and I think it'll make things a little bit more easy, a little bit easier, and a little bit more efficient, hopefully.
Oh, that's great. Okay, Nathan. So, if anybody has questions, they want to talk to you, how can they reach you?
They can either comment on this video and we'll answer it on Facebook as quickly as we can, or they can give us a call here in Mobile at 251-343-1111, or they can find us at our website at Gardberg Law, which is GardbergLaw.com. And for those of you who don't know, if you practice VA law, we're in Alabama, but we have cases all across the country. So if you somehow found us and you're in the Dakotas or wherever you may be, you need help, you can call us. We're licensed basically nationwide as long as it's in the VA system. So we can help you no matter where you are in the country.
Outstanding. That is great. Well, listen, thanks for being with us today. As always, it's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I always enjoy it.
Awesome. And as Nathan said, to those of you that are watching now live, you can leave your comments right on the page, and we'll make sure somebody gets back to you and answers them for you. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.